Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Matt McCallion, and my co-presenter, Matt Goddard. Hello, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thanks, Mal. Well, what a week. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Days. It's just there's so much to try and cram into this. We're going to try and make it 20, 25 minutes, but if we go over, I apologize. That's all because there is so much to talk about. We're going to start, as ever, with our property news, but it's likely to be slightly shorter property news because of so much happening in the tech side. Here we go then with our property news section. All right, this week in property, I wanted to focus on the chairman and founder of Spicer Heart getting his own AI avatar. What's this one all about, Matt?
So they've taken Paul Smith, as far as I can tell, and recreated him as an AI avatar. I'm not really sure what they're going to be using him for, other than maybe for videos, training content, and that sort of thing. But yeah, we've got multiple Paul Smiths. I don't know if we get him in casual gear, if we get him in the sort of the central London gilet in the spring and autumn.
Holiday wear on beach, Paul Smith on beach. Yeah, no, I look. So we do quite a lot of AI avatars here at the Model Prop, and it's really fascinating what agents are getting them to do. It is things like market updates. It is things like little property videos where they don't actually have to go out to the property and they can just do it in little circles in the corner. But I do think I think it's an increasingly efficient way of doing some really high quality presenting and getting some really good content out there. And I think for a business like Spicer Heart to be this engaged with, I think is great. And I don't know Paul Smith personally, but I'm sure if he's doing some one-to-ones, he's doing some performance reviews, all of those things can now just be done without it being there.
I don't know. Do you think with a performance review, you'd want to be getting told by an avatar that you're not doing too well or getting patted on the back?
I was being a little bit.
Yeah, I do. No, joking aside, I'm wearing my ASAP yellow today, and we've looked at the start of every case. They do introduction calls to both buyers and vendors, which take around about an hour. And a lot of that content is consistently the same, maybe tweaked slightly for the given situation. But actually, an AI avatar of your sales progressor covering the vast majority of that content, followed up with a personal call, actually would be quite a good use of time because people can do it offline, watch the AI avatar talk to them through the situation, and then have that 15-minute personal chat about whatever details you want to ask. And I think you've got something similar with contracts, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, actually you what we call smart contracts, you can actually send out contracts that have these little videos that pop up that kind of talk about what the different clauses are. If it's one about videography, then it can pop up and talk you through why you should have this particular videography package. And it'll be the person that you've met as a vendor. You've had this particular valuer come out to you, and then they're there in your contract just chatting you through, for the lovely light in your home, you should probably use this particular package. So I think there are an increasing array of use cases for technology like this. Yeah, I think you do need to be careful, as you pointed out, delivering bad news and managing to swerve it. But I think managers used to get their colleagues to present bad news, and now they can get their avatars to do it. I think we always need to be careful with this technology.
Keys and phone is going to be a difficult one to do an AI avatar, isn't it? That area direct car pulling up outside your office at 8 a.m. On a Thursday morning, whose keys and phones are getting taken. I don't think you can manage that with an AI avatar yet.
Your box, absolutely. And so no, I think there are huge advantages to having this done. And again, it's great to see that somebody of the caliber of Paul Smith and the business size and history of Spicer Heart doing it. And yeah, I'm sure that we'll see many others following suit. And we'll talk in a little bit actually about Klarna, one of the big businesses that's embraced AI. Their CEO delivering the earnings call as an avatar. So it is spreading. It is a very capable technology now, and I think it's going to be something that we're all going to get a lot more used to. And I think it's going to be really powerful tool for a lot of agents out there as well. All right, next up in our property news, this is all about Airbnb, and it's an international story, Matt. This is something that you've been looking at quite a lot.
It's definitely got an international flavour to it. So this one I picked up reading the Elite Agent newsletter, which is one of the dailies out of Australia, and it's actually highlighting that 65,000 excuse me, illegal listings had been removed from Airbnb over in Spain. And the reason it's quite interesting as well is that I've seen this come in with law and legislation in Edinburgh, where you need certain licenses to be short letting your property in, and quite a lot of the Airbnb stockers has come off the market there. And I'm aware of that because when my missus is from Edinburgh, and when we go up, it's always nice to have maybe a night or two where you're not with the in-laws before you break into the weekend, and there's a lot less properties available. But also here in England, there's been talk down in Cornwall, hasn't there, about a clamp down on these short lets, and certainly historically, short lets in central London and Westminster and places were always hard to deal with due to legislation. Despite it coming via Australia, I think the fact that these 65,000 listings have come off in Spain is potentially an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, you're right. Over in Wales, anywhere where there's a big sort of density of basically beautiful place, which then
Mm.
followed by these kind of Airbnb people having their second homes and then renting them out and so on. Yes, but it's the fragmentation of community that's the problem, and this is what there's happened over in Spain. I think they've got quite a left-wing government, or certainly authority in that particular area, who basically just banned them all. So I think that yeah, when you look at the direction of travel over here in the UK in terms of second homes being more highly taxed, even going back to when mortgage relief was removed and so on, it is becoming increasingly evident, I think, that there's a clampdown going on, and the homes that are not being used for dwelling and instead being used for holidays and so on. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be something that's going to become bigger over here as well, and indeed over in Australia and elsewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Australia was citing places like Byron Bay, Noosa, and Tasmania again, as you say, these beautiful destinations. But it's because ultimately Airbnb's made it so much more accessible, hasn't it? The technology's enabled people to short let their properties easier, which has really driven this.
Yeah, 100%. All right, just a very quick third story. We continue to have this challenge where essentially Rightmove is continuing to increase its prices and so on without overplaying it. It's something that I think is very difficult for agents to continue to look into the future and think about how we're going to continue to afford that. So I'm going out and about in the next few weeks on this Rightmove Resistance Tour. If you've not heard about it, do go to modelprop.ai/resist and register, and we will let you know when I'm in your area, and you can come along, learn all about AI, learn about how we can, essentially use this new technology, this new AI technology to resist those constant price increases. And it's going to help you, it's going to help your P&L, your profit and loss, and enable you to free yourself and to have choices and control again of your content. So that's coming up over the next few weeks. The next time I speak to you on this podcast, I will probably be, I don't know, somewhere in, I don't know, South Scotland, I think.
Yeah. Well, you'll be in South Scotland. I think I'm going to be in Manchester for the next one.
Are you? Exciting times indeed. So yes, we will be out and about. So do try and catch up with us where we are. So next up, we are into our tech news. All right, and AI and tech this week. Oh my days. It's been quite the week, hasn't it?
Incredible. And I know we touched on this last week with just the level of drops coming from all the different places, OpenAI, even Meta had to get in there and announce that it was delaying Llama again. And it was all because of the impending Google I/O. And what an event. Where do we start?
No. So Google, for those listening and catching up, Google has been a bit sidelined by the growth of OpenAI, by Claude, by other kind of businesses coming into its territory and essentially enabling, Perplexity is another one, enabling search. All right, the AI search. So they've been, and fascinatingly, and again, bit of history, Google has had access to this AI technology for a long, long, long time. And perhaps as you look back to their Transformer paper of 2017, you can almost say they created it, the idea of generative AI. But they've been sitting on it mostly because of concerns about the ethical side of things. That didn't stop ChatGPT and OpenAI launching ChatGPT back in 2022 in November, ChatGPT 3.5. And that basically upends everything and changed everything. So Google has been frantically trying to get itself to a point where it is positioned to reclaim its top spot in terms of tech. I think last week was probably a really, really big moment for them to get close to this. All right. They've released so many, or talked about so many different things last week at their I/O conference, as Matt said. So just a couple of big ones that we wanted to focus in on. They've done things like Imagine 4, which is essentially their image, the AI image, which is intended to compete with ChatGPT's image generator. It's amazing. But the one that I really have looked at and settled on is the VO3, which is the video model, because it is just incredible. And if anybody goes and has a look at my LinkedIn, there's a video on there that showcases some of this stuff, and it's just phenomenal.
And the benchmark for these videos for a while has been Will Smith eating pasta, hasn't it? And I don't think I've seen so many videos of him eating different varieties of pasta. You know, I struggle to keep up with the different little ears and spaghetti and all the things we had with kids, but it's been trained on YouTube, hasn't it? That was the insightful thing for me. And
And
then not insightful because of it's really obvious, and I'm sure there's disclaimers every time you post a video up there, but just the sheer volume of videos they've obviously got.
And this is, again, one of the things that Google is able to draw on that perhaps the others can't, or at least legally can't. And actually, Google has not confirmed or denied that it has used YouTube. YouTube.
You've seen the streamer one though, right? Where you say, create me a video of a streamer playing a game and reacting.
Yes.
And you create that video, and then if you zoom in on the screen, it is Fortnite. But you haven't mentioned Fortnite anywhere in the actual prompt, so it's such a giveaway.
Absolutely. What's the biggest game that most people have been playing for the longest time? It is Fortnite. So yes, the default is going to be something like that. So yeah, it's a phenomenal piece of kit. It's, you say, Matt, it's been trained on every YouTube video ever, so it is really good. And it sets the bar really high for the competitors. Everyone's been waiting for Sora, which is OpenAI's video generator, to get its backside in gear. It was the first one out of the blocks to advertise itself in February last year or the year before even. And yeah, it just hasn't really come to be off. Runway is really good, Runway ML, but this smashes out of the park. And I think it's not available here in the UK as yet, but it is coming. It's over in the States already, and people are having an amazing time developing loads of things. For us, when we think about how is this going to apply to us in the property industry, if you just imagine your advertising budget for videos, for brand videos, which for many agencies close to, if not actual zero, being able to generate videos for pennies, essentially, that advertise your brand, that help with your messaging, that reflect who you are, all that sort of stuff is going to be really powerful. Yes, stay tuned. Obviously, we will keep you up to date with how that develops and where it is.
This stuff's not necessarily coming for free though, is it, Mal? There's a new pricing model come out.
Yeah, and it is high. It's the highest so far, so $350, isn't it, for
It's ultra,
ultra? For the
ultra expensive.
Yeah, where'd you go after ultra? I always like when I think about packages and stuff like that. You always want to have a premium, somewhere
Ultra plus, ultra asterisk, ultra squared.
ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's $350 per month, but you get an absolute ton of stuff in there. And again, if you do think about it, 350 quid or dollars for something that is going to do a huge amount of work that would cost you tens of thousands to do if you tried it yourself. I do think it's increasing value. But that being said, yeah, the escalation, I think, in the package prices is going to be one to watch. OpenAI is rumored it's going to be bringing out a $20,000 package soon for, yes, essentially you to have your own coding team, I think. But yes, it's going to be, it does cost money, it turns out, to generate all this sort of stuff. Yeah, let's keep an eye on that from a budgetary point of view as well. But I think overall value-wise, as long as you're using it and it's not just sitting there, then this is going to be something really powerful, because it also includes other things like Gemini Live, which is real-time voice assistance from Gemini, which is Google's AI. And there's just to AI mode is really powerful as well. So I hadn't even realized that on the desktop of Google, there was still that I'm feeling lucky button.
Exactly. We talked about that last week, didn't we? And it's been in beta to swap it out.
Yeah, exactly. So now AI mode is coming, and that's going to replace that particular button.
And things like it includes the YouTube Premium subscription. So I think they get to that amount quite quickly, because that's what, 20 quid a month, which is what, $30, something like that. So I think in terms of what comes along with it, and in terms of the announcements, there was the return of Google Glass as well. I'm not sure it's been rebranded, but that was what, a few years ago, and back it comes.
It was so cool. And when they canned Google Glass, but for those that don't remember, it was basically glasses that had a little screen in it. And whilst you were looking at things, it would identify what they were and things like that. And it was just a little assistant that sat in the corner of your glasses. And I thought this must have been, what, 2014, something like that? It was like a while ago.
I was working with Simon, so of course he went out and bought them immediately. Indeed. In fact, he might have had them on pre-order. So there may well be in his loft somewhere, or his basement, wherever he keeps all those gadgets he bought and never used.
Yeah, exactly. But that's probably worth something now, right? It would be
to go in a museum.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, so now it's back and is better than before. Obviously, Meta has been doing their Ray-Ban glasses, which have really taken off. I'm surprised that Google has gone back to its drawing board and pulled some things out of dusty filing cabinets. And
it's an interesting one as well, isn't it? Because ultimately, it's going to be the glasses, as in the actual design and shape of the glasses, as opposed to the AI behind them that people buy, I reckon, going forward. It'll be almost that the AI's a secondary consideration, because a Claude or a Gemini or ChatGPT or all these things, but ultimately you want to make sure they look good on your face. You're not going to be walking around with a Meta Quest on your head, are you?
Have you seen Mark Zuckerberg's glasses? Really don't suit him. Really don't.
I was thinking, and I know I'm skipping ahead slightly, I was thinking I need some Johnny Ive glasses.
So let's move on to that and we can dip back into the Google stuff in a sec. So yeah, also this week, big news. And again, it came out literally the day before Google's conference. So all of these companies are trying to spike each other's PR guns by bringing things out that make the other guys less of own the weak less. So this is from OpenAI. They have acquired Jonny Ive's business, which actually is in partnership with Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI. And there's a little bit of buying your own stuff there. But yes, Jonny Ive, he designed the iPhone, he designed the iPod, he designed AirPods. He was the guy that worked alongside Steve Jobs at Apple and made these beautiful devices that we all just take for granted now and we love. And he's set up his own business with Altman to create devices for AI. And now it's part of OpenAI, and they are working together to build something that is very secret, but is going to be ridiculously cool.
It's difficult to not get ahead of yourself on this one, isn't it? Because when the iPhone came along, and I remember it came out just as I was leaving Foxtons or around about that time. So we'd had these various, I guess, smartphones. I remember one of the ones at Foxtons we had was where it was a Nokia that opened in half and had a keyboard in the bottom section and a screen at the top, but the keys were so small that when you got sausage fingers like these, you're pretty much hitting 15 letters at a go.
But a
And
sharp
this,
eye of your fingers.
exactly, and then suddenly this, as you say, this beautiful device arrived that does your emails, it browses the web, it's a camera, it's your iPod, everything in one really sleek design, and it basically changed the game, didn't it? I'm not saying game changer there, I'm just saying change the game. And therefore, what they're going to do, we've already had the smart pin, which, sorry, the AI pin, what was the name of that
Humane,
again?
the humane,
Humane.
yeah, the
And
rabbit R1 was.
Rabbit's still kicking around, isn't it? So there's these AI only devices. The pin's now been sold to a printer company, and the team's been put into the technology for printers. So what are they going to do? And there's been some speculation around it, hasn't there? Are you going to have a smart AI brooch? I could see that working on your model prop t-shirt. Is it going to be your earrings? Now, where do you reckon this could go?
Yeah, and they say it's not going to be a wearable. The word is, and this is it. It's all speculation, as you say. This is a big deal. It's like billions of dollars it's been bought for. Obviously, a lot of it is Ive's name, but there must be something there. He must have designed something.
6.5 billion is
Yeah,
not just a name. Well,
right.
it's a pretty powerful name, albeit.
Exactly. So yeah, so it's coming, and they reckon it's going to come before the end of the year as well. Again, it's pretty exciting, and we will. I'm sure, be carrying these things around, whatever it is, however we are going to
Well,
port.
maybe we're not. Maybe it's a drone that follows us and it's just
Hmm.
always there. And you go into Tesco and it has to avoid other people's AI drones.
Yeah, yeah, I like that idea. That's good. Yeah, whatever it is, we are going to be. Yeah, obviously on this show, we're going to let you know all about it, and probably we're going to mildly
Buy them.
fanboy over it. A little bit. So apologies in
Already
advance.
got them on pre-order.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so there is an absolute space for a device that is going to be our AI assistant. Phones and screens and things like that are going to decrease in value. We've had to look at things in the past because we've got to navigate around them. So you look at a website and navigate around it by sight and touch. We're going to be just talking at our AIs. So there's not as much need for screens. And that I think is going to be the fundamental shift in these new devices. Is not the need for screens is not going to be quite as proliferal. So I would, yeah, watch out for it. I think that it's for us in the property market, obviously visuals are really still important. So I think there's still going to be a place for websites and for beautiful design and houses and make sure people can visualize themselves in it. But I think for a lot of other industries, it's just not even necessary, right? For people to necessarily see what's happening and their AI can just go off and do the stuff they've been instructed to do.
You say that though, Mal, with the websites for estate agents, but Microsoft were also in the mix this week, weren't they? With Build 2025, which is their event, and within that there was a couple of announcements. One was around the natural language web or NL web, which was very much about gearing your websites up to interact with AI. So surely that kicks on to, do you actually need to think, will people have to visit websites in the future, or will this NL web or the model context protocol, which Microsoft also dipped into as part of that, will that mean that these websites don't necessarily need to be visited and looked at as much as they are at the moment?
I agree with you 100%. I think that's true. So it's not necessarily the site itself, but I think the content is still going to have to be
Yeah.
for property visual, and therefore you're still going to need a screen. When NL Web has gone and fetched that data and brought it back to your device, whatever it is, then there's going to need to be for property some kind of visual element, I believe. But yes, I absolutely agree with you. I think NL Web, as you say, that the MPC, Model Context Protocol, MCP, that is going to negate a lot of people sorting and filtering and hunting and discovering. All that sort of stuff is going to be taken care of by our AIs, and that content is still going to be really important. So
Yeah. Domain authority that we've talked about before as well. Just make sure you've got that content out there first
yes,
before it publishes via Move or portals. Make sure you own that and you have that domain authority and that first publisher first waiting around it. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and if you're posting those pictures and they are being pulled back and shown by the AI, or even the AI is interpreting what's in them. It's Graham at Jitty, isn't it, where you can search for what's within the pictures and pick up. It might not say see view in the description, but if it's see view in the pictures, then that gets picked up. So yeah, absolutely, content is king.
yeah, exactly that. And again, over playing it, this is what we're really focused on chatting about in these, and as I go around the country, is how you can use AI to make sure that all your content is ready for this new world. But yeah, I think that people are going to be discovering this content and seeking it out via their AIs, and it is absolutely critical for you as property content generators to understand the value of what you're doing, and once more to leverage that for your own business rather than necessarily just giving it away. Yeah, look, loads in tech as well. We've spoken about the kind of the hardware stuff, the Johnny Ive stuff. We've spoken about the Google Live. We want to just dip into, because I think it's important to mention it as well. So Claude, which is another one of these frontier labs. Sorry, Anthropic is the lab. Claude is the product. Claude is this AI assistant that is really good, and it particularly has been good at coding for a long time. They released Claude 4 last week, again just before Google's O, and it's a huge step forward. And particularly unique about this is you can type in your prompt or your question into Claude, and it will decide which of the models, sorry, which of the styles of generative AI it comes back with. Is it going to use the reasoning? Is it going to need to do some deep thinking? Or is it just going to come back with a really quick answer? So this kind of combination, this hybrid model, I think is going to be, we're going to see it with GPT-5 when that comes out, but no longer are you going to have to sit there and try and work out whether you need to use the deep thinking or deep research type of query, or just ask it to come back really quickly.
Or not even thinking about it, realizing you've used the wrong one and getting frustrated and having to restart the process. And problem in share, not in computer sort of situation. But I think it's great for Claude because they were a real trailblazer on the coding assistants, and obviously they've lost that mantle to things like Cursor. And seeing them launch this new version and going with that context switching, for want of a better word, automatically should really bring it back. Although there could be an element where if it's initially getting it wrong, you might get frustrated, but you don't need to embrace these things, don't you?
That's right. I love this because yeah, and I do exactly the same. I'm like, I just want a quick answer, and I think I'm on a GPT 4.0, and I'm actually on O3. And for those who aren't as geeky as I am, and potentially paint you with that brush as well, yeah, like literally, it's like another 5 seconds. You're sitting there going, "Oh my God, I wanted that question. I wanted the answer 5 seconds ago." And you
What do
just
you mean analysing? Just give me the
yes,
answer.
I don't need you to just throw me the answer back. So yes, so those days, yeah, that kind of that pause is hopefully going to disappear, the unnecessary pause. But yes, so that Claude is well worth a look. Play around with it, as we always say. The thing that you need to be doing right now is playing around with all these different tools. All right, just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just go and ask it questions, and whenever there's something that occurs to you, just go onto these models and ask them, just so that you can see what's happening, how it's reacting, see what the kind of the level that these things have got to. I was speaking with somebody last week who has generally keeps up with what's been happening in AI and didn't realize that ChatGPT now searched the web. Genuinely, and I think it's just that there's so much information coming that
Yeah.
you get to look at it and know that. So yes, ChatGPT now it searches the web. So go and have a look and have a play around with it. And
I guess Anthropic's only recently added that as well, wasn't it? It was in the last few weeks, said the web searchable too, but
exactly. So
yeah.
unless you practice, you're not gonna find out. So obviously, keep listening to us here at the Property AI Report, because we will keep you right, but also play, because this is really important and this is your future. And basically, everybody who isn't is going to get basically overtaken by everybody who is. All right, so keep enjoying. All right, we are going to move on from our AI news in 1 second after I've just gone back to this story about Claude. So Claude, for those that don't necessarily remember, it is a huge organization based out in Sweden, I think, or Denmark.
It is, yeah, Sweden.
And it hit the news a couple of years ago because they said that the CEO is on record as saying he got rid of 85% of his call center staff and just used AI. It transpired that actually it probably wasn't entirely that. And then he has since, in the last couple of weeks, had to go back to recruiting loads of people. And now he is back in the news again because he has used his AI avatar to deliver his earnings report to his investors. Again, circling all the way back to our initial story about Paul Smith and Spicer Hart, this technology is becoming mainstream, and it is something that, again, you should be investigating, you should be testing out, you should understand what it can do for you, and also what it can't, where those limits are, and where actually you are comfortable as a business using the technology or not. And we will see, as we do with all things, we will see a wide variety of adoption. So some agencies will take a great pride in saying we only use AI in 10% of our operations, whereas others will say we use it in 90%. And that's going to be an interesting and a powerful differentiator of brand, I think, as well.
No, very much. And it's, as you said before, it just removes some of those overheads of having to set up the film studio and get the videographer and such like. And sorry to Matt Lee and the guys at PVS.
Listen, again, those guys are really important still. But I do think if you've got a CEO or a managing director of a business spending an afternoon doing a market update, which is what you used to have to do once a month, and kind of sit there with a videographer and try and remember the script, try and learn it, and then understand all the stats and make sure you didn't mess it up, and then retakes. All you do now is just send some stats off to your preferred AI partner, and they create the script, they create the video, and it's back with you within 24 hours.
And the videographers can get on with doing cool stuff around your local area.
Absolutely, and videoing, and doing that high quality stuff that they deliver. So that's our AI and tech news for this week. We are now moving on to our tool of the week. AI tool of the week this week. Matt, what have we got?
This was a difficult one given the nature of the week, and I think I put in the show notes, where do we start? But for me, one of the bits that Google announced, it's available now for anyone using Google Workspace, is actually the translation. And I work with a number of overseas developers, and whenever we meet on Google Meet, and they turn on the transcription so they can read what my Grimbergen accent is saying rather than trying to analyze and understand it in Indonesian, Vietnamese, or even I work with someone who's from California, and she struggles with my accent, naming no names, Nicole, but it seems to be Californians and Grimbergens have a difficult crossover.
For those who are watching on YouTube, we have got the translation on.
But the announcement was not just that the transcription is now going to be translating on the fly, but actually the audio is going to be translated. And there's a great video of this where, as the person's talking, not only are they translating in real time from English into Spanish and vice versa for the other side of the conversation, but the voice, the intonation, it is the actual person's voice, but speaking Spanish, and absolutely incredible. For those who are old and geeky enough, it's like the Babel fish in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but without having to stick a fish in your ear. And incredible. Really a great tool of the week for agents who are working with overseas clients who are doing those video tours and conversations, that if you've got a China desk and you need speaking to someone in Cantonese or Mandarin, that you're now able to have those conversations and open up that market even more.
Yeah, 100%. And you work with agents, so do I, who are very active in those international markets. And even actually, you've got communities within the UK where there is a particular language prevalent, and being able to service those better than your competitors is obviously a desirable thing. Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. And we do a lot of voice AI as well with various agents, and some of them do have these different language requirements, and to have the ability to know that I can now speak fluent Cantonese, Mandarin, whatever, it's insane, but it's really cool.
I remember when we did landlord statements, when we went over to Melbourne all those years ago, and we did landlord statements for their client accounting, and we did those in Cantonese and Mandarin, and it became a massive USP over there, and we brought it back to the UK for companies like Savills, CBRE, Foxtons, all these companies who have Chinese desks and Chinese property management teams to have that ability. And that's text. This is now real live conversations.
Real time. Insane. All right, listen, that is all we've got time for this week. Thank you so much for listening in, and thanks very much indeed, Matt. Good to see you.
Likewise, and I look forward to catching up as we start our UK roadshows or
Indeed.
tours.
We shall be around and about. So yeah, do get in touch with us. Hop into modelprop.ai/resist if you want to catch up. But yes, we will be back again next week from some far-flung corner of the UK. Thanks very much again for listening in. Have a great week. We will see you again in a few days' time.
Take care.